A One Piece game where you can create your own character, create or join your own crew, and explore and fight on the seas of the One Piece world. That would be the perfect One Piece game for me. What's good YouTube, Ronnie here, and today I'm going to dive deep into how Yonkos and Warlords will work in my dream One Piece game. This is part of an ongoing series in which I break down game mechanics and features out of one of my One Piece game ideas. So if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to stay updated. So, quick disclaimer, this video doesn't just deal with Yonkos and Warlords, like the title would suggest. It pretty much deals with the top tier positions of each faction, so that includes Yonkos for pirates, Warlords for bounty hunters and pirates, Navy admirals for the Marines, and Revolutionary Army commanders. These are pretty much the pinnacles of power and status for each of the four factions, and in this game, players will be able to become them. This video also includes a somewhat in-depth look at the bounty system for this game, because I know a lot of you guys are wondering what that looks like, and I've been wanting to talk about them more anyway. So without further ado, let's discuss becoming a top tier player in the perfect One Piece game. Like always, before we start, remember to drop a like if you liked the video and go watch my previous One Piece videos before you finish this video to get a good idea of everything I'm talking about. So considering it's a huge part of becoming a top tier in this game, let's start the video with the bounty system. So as I'm sure most of you know, bounties are cash rewards given to people who are able to capture and or kill pirates, bandits, and other people of interest and turn them into the Navy. Bounties are a good way to show not just the individual strength of criminals, but the overall threat level to the world they possess. Whether that being able to read about the secrets of the world, amassing a large amount of followers that would do anything you say, or possessing and eating a very powerful devil fruit, all of these things will factor into a person's bounty. In this game, players could amass a bounty by fighting and defeating other players, attacking NPC civilians, going places they aren't permitted such as marine bases, breaking into and out of Impel Down, stealing from stores and marine bases, and among other things. Now in terms of an actual metric for how much each of these crimes increases a player's bounty, I couldn't really come up with one, but luckily Jans over at my Discord gave me somewhat of an idea of what those metrics will look like, at least for a few of the crimes. So when it comes to attacking civilians, if a nobody-like player with a bounty of 0 berries to let's say 1 million berries were to attack civilians, their bounty will increase for a bit. Now let's say a player with a much higher bounty, say 100 million berries, attacks civilians, well then they wouldn't receive much of an increase. But if they were to come and basically wipe out an entire island of civilians, then yeah, there would be an increase. This is pretty much to say that, the higher your bounty, the more you'll have to do to increase it more. So you can't, you can't rely on, small and minor crimes to up your bounty more when you're already a high level bounty. Now when talking about criminals defeating other criminals, what would decide whether or not their bounties will increase depends on the opponent's bounty. So for example, we have Pirate A fighting Pirate B. If Pirate A defeats Pirate B, and Pirate B's bounty is a good bit lower than Pirate A's bounty, then their bounty wouldn't change very much. So even if a pirate with a 4 billion bounty one-shots a pirate with a 1.5 billion bounty, their bounty won't increase much because that's to be expected if they fight, and mainly because it would save lower level players from being hunted by stronger players just to get a higher bounty. Now let's say Pirate A's bounty was lower than Pirate B's. So if Pirate A goes and defeats Pirate B with no help, then they would get half of Pirate B's bounty added to theirs. But what if Pirate A gets help defeating Pirate B from Pirate C? Well, if Pirate C assists in between 25% to 50% damage done to Pirate B, including if Pirate B heals himself, then that half of the bounty reward for Pirate B is split in half between Pirate A and Pirate C. Now how about losing one's bounty? Well, this will be pretty simple. When a player is defeated and either captured or executed by a Marine or bounty hunter, then their bounty will drop back to 0. This doesn't happen if they're defeated by pirates or revolutionaries, however. Bounty hunters could also receive a bounty if they attack and defeat Marine players, as well as choosing to execute criminals more often than just capturing and turning them in. And finally for bounties, yes, players' pictures would be put on bounty posters and spread across the world for other players to see. The higher the bounty, the more posters across the game a player would have, as well as appearing in the weekly newspaper. And that's just about it for bounties. I know you guys have been wanting me to talk about them for a while, and they are somewhat important to understand for the rest of the video. Now let's move on to the first quote-unquote top tier rank, Warlords. The Shichibukai, or the 7 Warlords of the Sea, are a selection of notorious pirate captains who ally with the world government. In return for their alliance, their bounties get frozen and are allowed more leeway with their crimes. In this game, pirate and bounty hunter players could be offered the status of warlord by fulfilling a few requirements. The first is to be a strong and notorious pirate captain or bounty hunter. This just means having a pretty decently high level, say level 50 and above, and having a pretty sizable bounty of at least 100 million berries for pirates and 50 million berries for bounty hunters. After you achieve this, you would then apply for the role, which will be possible to do right on the menu screen. Once you apply, you would then be given 2 tasks. The first is to defeat and either capture or execute 50 pirate players. This is somewhat a reference to Law turning in 100 pirate hearts to the world government to become a warlord. But having to kill 100 players in this game just seemed a little bit much, so 50 it is. The other task would be to conquer a town, island, or bigger. This would most likely be more challenging for bounty hunter players since they would typically roll alone, and conquering an island would be no easy feat. Completing those 2 tasks would grant the player the status of Warlord. Now keep in mind, there could only be 7 Warlords per region. They are called the 7 Warlords of the Sea. So even if a player has the qualifications, if the seats are full, they couldn't apply. But they could take out a current Warlord to earn their spot, however. As a Warlord, players and their crew's bounties will be frozen, not to be increased by any minor crimes such as killing other players, walking on marine bases, robbery, and conquering islands. These will not increase a Warlord's bounty. Warlord players are technically put in the marine faction, so this allows them to, again, walk in marine bases along with Insight Impel Down with no issues. They can also use the Gates of Justice to travel as well. Warlords will also have duties they will need to fulfill to keep their status. These duties include taking out a certain pirate player or a certain number of random pirate players when they're asked to, as well as escorting ships going to Impel Down, assisting marine players on tasks, and paying 10% of any cash made as a warlord to the world government. A warlord could lose a status by failing to do those tasks I just mentioned for a period of time, as well as attacking and defeating a good number of marine players, specifically captains and higher, or also being defeated more than twice in combat. I say more than twice because it's clear that even after a defeat, a warlord can keep their status. Just look at Moria. But too many defeats would make them look too weak, so that would get their status revoked. A player could also just resign from being a warlord if they so choose to, but this would shoot your bounty up pretty high. Now moving on to the actual top tiers, Yonko. The Yonko, or the 4 Emperors, are a group of the 4 most powerful and notorious pirate captains in the world. These will be the pirate players recognized for having the 4 highest bounties in the game, along with pretty high levels as well. Now obviously becoming a Yonko will be no easy feat. A pirate captain will have to have a bounty of at least 3 billion berries, along with a total crew bounty of at least 5 billion berries. They will also need to have conquered at least 3 island territories, with one of them being a country, the biggest type of island in the game. I was originally going to include having all 3 types of hockey in this, but considering how rare Conqueror's hockey would be in this game, I just hopped up to only having to have the advanced levels of at least 2 of the 3 forms of hockey, since most Yonko in this series, as far as we know, have them. Now, just having these requirements would not grant a player the title of Yonko, because just like the Warlords, there could only be a set number of Emperors per region, that being 4 obviously. So even if a player gets these requirements, they will have to take on the task of knocking off another Yonko to take their spot. Now, if a current Yonko is defeated by some other faction, specifically Marines, then their bounty would drop a bit, and the pirate captain with the next highest bounty and correct qualifications would be automatically given their spot. As a Yonko, a player could appoint the commanders of their crew. There could be any number of commanders for a crew. Yonkos could also call and command a fleet of pirates to come and help them in battle. These fleets will include a bunch of NPC pirates who wouldn't be that strong but would be annoying enough to enemies, while they will also have to deal with the main crew as well. These fleets will arrive in battleships designed by the captain himself, and will come to aid the crew on any island the Yonko is on. The main way one will lose a status as Yonko is by losing in battle to another pirate or being defeated and captured by marines or bounty hunters. However, if a player is inactive enough, let's say about a month of not playing the game, then a player with the right qualifications could take their spot if their bounty exceeds the previous players. Moving on to Admirals. The Admiral rank is the second highest rank that could be achieved as a Marine, but for this game it will be the highest rank a Marine player could achieve, considering Fleet Admiral is a single person, and in the words of Kanye, no one man should have all that power. To become an Admiral, a player must have accumulated at least 3 billion Marine points. What are Marine points? Well, they would just be the Marine equivalent to the bounty system. Each Marine rank will have a certain amount of points a player will need to receive to reach them. Recruits obviously wouldn't need any points, Petty Officers will need 1 million points, Warrant Officer will need 10 million points, Lieutenants will need 100 million points, Captains will need 500 million points, Vice Admirals will need 1 billion points, and Admirals will need 3 billion points. To increase your Marine points, you could do daily missions you are assigned, catch and defeat criminals, and escort prisoners to Impel Down. And every time you'd reach your Marine point goal to reach your next rank, you'd have to do a task, and if you pass, you'd move up to the next rank. Now for Admirals, just like the Yonkos and Warlords, there could only be 3 players per region. So if you were to accumulate 3 billion Marine points, but the Admiral spots were full, every 3 days you will be able to apply for the position and you will have to battle one of the current 3 Admirals to take their spot. Also, another requirement to even be eligible for the Admiral position would be to have at least one advanced form of Haki. As an Admiral, a player could summon Buster Calls to command a fleet of NPC Marine battleships to a certain island. Some lower ranked Marine players would even be tasked to accompany the Buster Call. This would pretty much be the Marine version of the Yonko pirate fleet coming in to attack someone. The point of the Buster Call would be to eliminate every single non-Marine player on the island, and it wouldn't stop unless there are no more non-Marine players on the island, or the enemies are able to defeat all the incoming Marines that are coming to the island. Now, Admirals wouldn't be able to do this a lot of times. They could only command a Buster Call once every 3 days. Admirals could also assign tasks to other players, and to make sure they complete them, if a player decides not to, they will lose Marine points. The 2 ways to lose one's status as Admiral would be just to lose in either a challenge from a Vice Admiral trying to rank up, or losing to a pirate player that doesn't have the title of Yonko, in which the next Marine player with the right qualifications will be promoted to the rank. And finally, Revolutionary Army Commanders. Revolutionary Army Commanders will be the 5 strongest Revolutionary Army players who will be based in the 5 regions of the in-game world. These include the East Blue, West Blue, South Blue, North Blue, and the Grand Line, specifically the first half. Not much is known on how to become a commander in this series, and honestly there would only be about 3 ranks Revolutionary Army players could even achieve, those being Recruit, Officer, Deputy Commander, and Commander. Now I realize none of the commanders in this series actually have a 500 million berry bounty, but for a game, and considering that this is technically the pinnacle of power you could achieve in this faction, I think this is a good amount. Now, just like the other factions, there can only be 5 commanders. You will be able to challenge a commander every 3 days for their spot. As a commander, you will need to appoint your deputy officer, and they will need to have a bounty of at least 100 million berries. A commander will almost only operate in their assigned region. Now this doesn't mean you have to stay there, but it does mean just about all your tasks will be done in your region as well as your base being set out there. You can also assign tasks and missions to lower rank officers who will be assigned to your region's army. And of course, the only 3 ways to lose your status as a commander is to be demoted by an officer trying to take your spot, getting defeated and captured by Marines, or being inactive for longer than 3 weeks. And that's just it for about how top tiers will work in this game. Tune into the next video where we talk about the different levels of combat in this game. Follow me on Instagram at RedXRonnie, follow me on Twitter at RedXRonnie, join my Discord, it'll be in the link below. Remember to like and subscribe for more. See you in the next one. Peace.